Good morning everyone, it's Michelle here. I hope you're doing well. I've had a lot of new subscribers in the last couple of days, so welcome to you all. Hope you find my content interesting. My comment section is always open and I like to hear everybody's opinions, whether you agree with me or not, as long as you keep it respectful and classy, as Chris McDonough says, then I like to read all your comments. It is a little bit windy this morning. The weather here just changes so rapidly. So I apologise in advance if there's some wind noise. When I get down to the hollow down there, it'll be a little bit better, I think. But it really is quite windy. So I hope it's not too distracting. What I want to do in this video is highlight some red flags that I found in the audio, the phone call that Chris McDonough had with Don Wells on the 1st of August. So it's subsequent to this phone call that Don Wells has really kicked off against Chris McDonough on Facebook. The last post that I've seen from Don Wells, he posted just a few hours before the interview was played on the interview room. Don says that he feels he was trapped. Now, having listened to the interview, he was using his training. Whether Don believes that's entrapment, but I thought it was a very, very good interview. Chris was respectful, but yet he was very probing. And in hindsight, I suspect that Don said a lot more than he ever intended to, and he's now angry at himself and projecting that towards Chris and anyone else. Everyone else is fearful about the implications of some of what he said when he talked about his past and the essay against his stepsister, which he's now admitted to. Previously said that members of his family have been lying, but he's now admitted to that. So that's now absolutely confirmed. I was blown away by it, and I'm even more blown away now hearing those things in Don's own voice. Let me know in the comments your views, and if there are red flags that you've picked up that I haven't mentioned in this video, then again, put those in the comments. I think at this stage, every single piece of information could be relevant. All the different theories, all the speculations I did yesterday, I can't prove any of them, but equally I can't disprove any of them either, which is why they're all on the table for me. But you might think differently, so of course please do let me know, as long as you're respectful. The interview, I watched it live. I've also listened to it again this morning. Admittedly, my brain has been mush since I've had COVID. So I am going to have to listen to it all again to take it in fully. This is not a complete set of red flags that I might find once I've gone through it again. Firstly, right at the beginning of the interview, now I don't know how many people picked this up, but he said the dogs, so the dogs that live around the property, weren't there that day because, sometimes they just take off. He doesn't know where they go, but they come back all beat up and hungry, and they just take off. Well, they're not soft house dogs like Tilly here. By the way, Cassie isn't here again this morning, so you won't see her ears jumping up and down. She's at work with my son, but she definitely will be back tomorrow because my son isn't working tomorrow. So there you go. They're very friendly, but they're not house dogs. So yeah, I could imagine that some of them do take off. Male dogs specifically going looking for romance, shall we say. But all of the dogs just upped and left. I don't believe that one bit. Why did Don make a point of saying that? Is it so that he's seen people saying, well, if someone came up onto the property, as a stranger or someone unknown to the dogs, surely they would have barked, they would have raised the alarm. So Don's made a point, in my mind, he's made a point of of clarifying that the dogs actually weren't there that day. Well, Candice didn't say that. So this is something very much after the fact, in my mind, that Donna's thought of. I can't prove that all of the dogs just upped and left. I can't disprove it. But in my opinion, it's not true. Some of the dogs might not have been there, but wasn't there a litter of puppies at that time? You know, the mum dog, the mama dog, she wouldn't have upped and left her puppies. What, did the puppies all go as well? I don't believe that, honestly, quite frankly. I think that's some kind of tactic that Don has dreamed up. He spent quite some time saying that this person that he fired, is it possible that this guy, out of revenge or for whatever reason, has stolen Summer? Yes, we can't disprove that. I've said all along the possibility of an abduction that is not connected with the family, whether it be somebody who has seen Summer on Facebook or social media. We know that offenders do look for kids on social media, find out the location, stalk them, completely unbeknownst to the family. It is a possibility. So this guy who was off his mind on drugs, he was making mistakes at work, and Don had to fire him. So it's a revenge thing. All right, okay, that's Don's opinion. I'm sure that TBI, FBI, they've wrung that guy out. They've turned him upside down. They've shook him. Does it mean that he's completely cleared? No. So it's on the table. But for me, the red flag is where Don blames everyone else. So he's put the heat on this guy. He might truly believe that guy is involved, but it takes the heat off him. Similarly, when he talked about Candice and the fact that both of them were drug tested. Now, he didn't mention his results. He said he was clean. He doesn't even touch a beer, which we know blatantly is not true. He doesn't touch a beer. And if he does, he doesn't, because if he does, then he wants to have other substances as well. However, Candice has been drinking and, you know, he now has to babysit Candice. Well, maybe she is. Maybe that's true. Right? But he's minimising his own use of substances. Is that relevant to the disappearance of Summer? Maybe, but maybe not. But it's just a red flag to me. It's an indication of how Donald is as a person, what his personality is like. The fact that he deflects from himself, he distracts, he tries to throw things in there to get you to think alternatively. That's an example of what he did with the dogs. The dogs weren't there that day. He's thrown that in. See where I'm going kind of with that. Something about him, maybe it's been successful to get people to think in his way in the past. Maybe he's angry, maybe he's scared that it seems to be not working with Chris. That's fair, because there is so much now. Every time Don opens his mouth, in my mind, I feel he's even more guilty. Every time he opens his mouth, every time he posts everything, and this interview as maybe side-eye him even more than I was side-eyeing him already. Because initially, I thought Don was innocent. I thought he didn't have a high level of deception in his interview. That first interview, I believed he was at work, but now we know it's quite possible that he wasn't. That leads me on to the next massive red flag. Like Candice, he doesn't seem to be able to pin a time on anything he did that day. He doesn't know what time he left for work. He doesn't know what time the call came in from Candice. He's not sure. He doesn't know what time he got home. He's not sure. Really? Is everybody in that family, or in this whole situation, so bad at time? I don't know, guys. It seems odd. And related to that, he says that they got their phone backs clean, so they have got their phones back, but the police have erased all kind of their call history from 3:30 onwards that day. I understand why they would have done that. It's so that they can't look back and kind of, I suppose, get their story straight, looking at the timeline of the calls they made. That's just my opinion. Now, these private detectives, now who are they? Because Don doesn't seem to know that this private detective agency is working with them free of charge, but he doesn't know their names. He doesn't know where they're from. He had to leave the prayer vigil early the other day to go and meet them or talk to them. But he thinks one's called Michelle. Let's quash any rumours right here, right now. I'm Michelle. It's not me, all right? I'm not Don's private detective. Just in case anybody makes that connection. And Chris questioned him and said, well, I'm not going to call them if I don't know who they are. And that's just odd. Why? How would you not know the details of the company? Now, I've saved the most disturbing for last. So I hope you've got this far into the video. If you haven't, you'll never know. When Chris asked Don what should be done to the person who took Summer, Don's behaviour was really disturbing, or concerning at least. When Chris asked him, should the offender go to prison, he said, oh, I don't know, I know how bad prison is. What? Well, prison might be bad, but wouldn't you want somebody who'd kidnapped, abducted, trafficked, murdered, whatever, your daughter, wouldn't you want them to rot in a jail cell for the rest of their life? Wouldn't that be a natural reaction of a father who doted on this daughter, so much so that, she loved him unconditionally and he'd never felt love like it, and she wanted to sleep with him every night? I know a lot has been said about that. Side note, I've not got a problem with co-sleeping with kids. It's just a problem in this situation where we know Don's history. That's why it's a massive problem in a lot of people's minds, including mine. This love that he'd never had before, and now she's gone. And he says, I don't know whether I want that person to go to prison because prison's horrible. Well, yeah. Wouldn't you want prison to be horrible? That does not make sense. And then Chris went on to say, well, what if it was an accident? And I could see what he was doing there. It's giving him an out, a less serious. We can all understand that accidents happen. So he said, no, Candice will call the authorities, Grandma will call the authorities. And he put that back onto Candice and Grandma. But what if he'd caused an accident? That's still open, isn't it? What if he'd caused an accident? He didn't go there because supposedly he was at work. But what if he wasn't? What if the accident was caused by Don? That's still on the table, isn't it? And Don, meaningfully or not, evaded that. Oh, it's really windy. I'll move up here a bit and then get out of the wind before I say this final bit. Oh! Oh no! What the hell? I'm actually stuck. Ugh! Oh my God. That is a little mini swamp right there. Oh, that's awful. Oh, my feet. the most concerning thing for me was when Don talked about seeing Summer in a dream. Seeing Summer in a dream is not unusual, right? I've seen my dead son, who was killed, in a couple of dreams. It's not unusual, right? Whether you believe it's a visitation from the dead, or whether it's your brain trying to be kind to you and giving you some kind of level of closure. I'm open to either explanation. But when he said she was at a construction site, but it was a commercial construction site, it wasn't the type of construction site that he's working on now, but she was at a construction site, and she was either in a well-to-do place or she was in heaven. What? It's possible. I can't disprove that Donald had this dream, and it was, he'd got construction site because he works on a construction site, and it doesn't mean anything in relation to Summer's disappearance. But what if it does? What if it's a tell? I'm really concerned about that. And Chris talked about the possibility of it being sold. Don doesn't know whether she's in a well-to-do place and she's alive because she's been sold to somebody who wants to look after her, essentially, or whether she's dead. I just have a really bad feeling about all of that. I really do. Now, he obviously denied it and said, what kind of person would buy a child? He carried on talking as Chris talked through that scenario. I don't know what to make about that, but all I'm saying for me is everything is on the table right now. And every time Don speaks, I feel he implicates himself in some way even further. So in my opinion, he's my number one suspect to have done something. I don't know what that something is, whether he's done something, whether it's an accident, whether it's an essay scenario gone wrong, whether he's sold her and it was meant to be just an essay kind of selling, if you know what I'm saying, but the person who was essaying her stole her. But now Don can't say that because he implicates himself. I'm going to leave it there before I start into lots of different speculation like I did yesterday. Welcome once again to all the new subs, and thank you so much to people who've been with me since the very early days of this channel. You are all very much appreciated. Hope you're well, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.